What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Taste Like Music. Jason and Joe here, coming at you with a review today of the new Olivia Rodrigo record called Guts. I promise this is the last bit of Olivia Rodrigo content for a little bit, but it's a big record. It's one of the biggest pop records of the year. If you don't watch our channel all the time, you may have missed our earlier video proclaiming her the savior of rock and roll. So obviously, we think highly of her in some ways, at least. But that video was completed and put out before we heard the record. So let's see how we thinking it stacks up to our expectations.
That was a bit of a shot in the dark on our part, huh? It's could have left us with some egg on our faces if that album was no good. Fortunately, I think we came out looking pretty good on that thesis. This latest album, Guts, I think is a good step forward in pretty much every single way. It's not, I mean, it's not like a 5-star album. Let's not get nuts. But I think it does all the things that she does well and amplified them in a way that really plays up. I mean, it's not like a Guns N' Roses record, but there is a lot of guitar and bass and drums and not a lot of, synths and trippy beats and, the stuff that we come to expect from pop stars these days. And I think she showed some good progression in her lyrics and her singing. And I think her and Dan Negro, who wrote every song, except one, or sorry, except two. One has a Julia Michaels and one has an Amy Allen credit on it. But everything else is just them. I think they work really well together. And I think they just made a good pop rock album. Jumps around a lot, explores a lot of different sounds. There's plenty of 90s Riot Girl, some Veruca Salt or Hole in there on Ballad of a Homeschool Girl. And, she's pulling from Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift and Lorde and maybe a little Carly Rae Jepsen and, Paramore. So she's got her heroes, and I think she works all of them into her music really well. Bad Idea Right has maybe the best guitar solo that you'll hear in a top 10 song since Lord, I don't know when. And, I just think it's a good album with lots of real instrumentation, and it doesn't sound like it was cooked up in some Swedish laboratory. For me, it's 4 stars. I liked Sour, but I didn't love it, and I thought it was way too ballad heavy. I think it's a much better balance here on Guts.
Yeah, I think it's still a little too ballad heavy. I think it could use maybe 1 or 2 less ballads replaced with some good pop rock. But overall, I think it's a very enjoyable record. And I'll say this about the rock savior thing. Got with our audience and the people that watch our channel, we got a fair amount of pushback in the comments, and we expected that. But I want to say, maybe some people missed it. It was pretty clear in the video, I thought. But we're not trying to say that, she is the best rock artist around right now. Far from it. There's a ton of rock bands that I love. But the whole point of that video is that she is in a really unique position, having such popularity out of the gate and this built-in fan base having been on Disney. She can really open up a lot of younger people to rock music, and she's doing that. I think this record is, yes, it's pop. It's a lot of it's pop, but there's some rock songs, and almost all of it is rock instrumentation, and that's the main thing. It's guitar, bass, and drums largely. There's some synths and stuff, but it's a band. It sounds like a band, basically, and I think that's really cool. I think it's good for pop, and I think it's good for rock music. And the main point of all of that, though, is that it's good. It's backed up with good songs, and I think there's a handful of tracks. First listen, I was pretty high on this. I was thinking 4 stars. The more I listened to it, the more I noticed melodies that I wasn't really crazy about. A lot of like Taylor Swift kind of isms where it feels like a Taylor Swift song that just kind of grated on me a little. So I actually dropped it down to 3.5, but I still think it's very good. I think a lot of the songs are good. I like her energy on it. I think kind of this snarkier character of hers that is kind of coming to the forefront on this record that I didn't really feel so much on Sour. I think it's working really well. A lot has been made about like the whole pop punk thing. And really, the only song that really feels heavily like that to me is the opener, All American Bitch. That one to me feels very Avril esque. But I think with all the rest of the rock stuff here, I think she's putting a pretty unique spin on it. I think it's cool. It's a good record.
Yeah, no, I agree. You're a high 3.5 and a low 4. For me, it's the same thing. And I think, you know, on Sour, she's very like woe is me and, kind of a little too emo-y and teenage crying, whatever. And she's definitely a little brattier, a little more in your face here. I think it's good. There's the bad behavior and the self-loathing, and I know I'm a mess, but that's okay. Lots of swearing, and I think her persona, the persona she puts on record, is very effective. It obviously is reaching all the kids these days. Love that kind of stuff. So she is tailor-made for Gen Z there. And I think not the only problem, but I think the biggest problem for me is I hear a lot of other people's music still in her songs. Like every song kind of reminds me of whether it's, Lana Del Rey or Taylor Swift or Avril Lavigne, even like Pretty Isn't Pretty. Kind of reminds me of like 1979 by Smashing Pumpkins. It has that same guitar tone, which is good. Like she's doing a lot of different stuff, but almost everything reminds me of something else. And I don't know if she's like quite figured out her like unique style. Like she has a lyrical style, but as far as like the music goes, I think she could maybe stand to like focus in on one thing or create her own style that doesn't like immediately remind me of somebody else from the past. I think that's the biggest problem. But I think all the songs are pretty darn catchy, and there's no like cringy moments really in here. Um, so I think it's a strong pop album. The critics love it, and they're just 4 and 5 stars all over the place from everybody from Pitchfork to Rolling Stone and across the board. So all the critics seem to like it, and I think they're putting a lot of faith in building her up to be sort of the savior of pop and rock too. But I think she can handle it. She's got some good instincts and some good chops. So uh, yes, she's the savior of rock and roll. We were right the whole time.
Yeah. I I very much agree with you. I think lyrically she has really found like her voice, and musically maybe not quite yet, still a lot of like pulling from influences, and everything you read about her mentions Dan Nigro. So it really seems like they're trying to like make him like the Phineas to her Billie Eilish type of thing, like they're this real artist producer pairing. I think for record number 3, I think she would be wise to go and see what else is out there, see if she can get some kind of more unique musical sound going for herself. But yeah, I mean the production on this record's not bad. It's just, you know, it's it's kind of modern pop production.
Yeah, he hasn't worked with that many other people. He did one song with Carly Rae Jepsen back on Emotion, and that's where I heard of him. But since then, he worked with like Conan Gray and Caroline Polachek and a couple songs here and there, but he's not like all over the place. So yeah, I guess he is the Phineas to Olivia.
Overall, good record, fun record. I think that's the main word I would use for it. Is it's fun, it's a fun listen, it's an easy listen, it's pretty quick and breezy, and I enjoyed it. It will not be in my top 10 or probably even 25 of the year, but it's good, and it's good that it exists, and it's good that it's going to be such a huge record. It's I think, a very important record this year.
Could be a lot worse. So,
all right, well, let us know if you've heard this record, what you think of it. What are your favorite songs? Do you agree with us that she is saving rock and roll? Let us know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Check the video description for our social media and our Patreon. And we got some new merch. Check our merch link. There's some pretty cool new designs there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.